Hey guys, this is Kelsey with poofycheeks.com, and today I am answering all the questions about this tutorial I shared on Instagram. I got questions like, can you buy just the design? What vinyl and what settings are you using? How do you cut the layers out? And what type of press do you use? So today, I hope to share with you all of those answers. Some of the answers are going to be down in the description of this video. I will link to the press I use. I will link to the vinyl that I'm using. I like to use the Caesar vinyl, the Easy Weed. So let's dive in. As you can see, I'm sharing that quick Instagram video that I posted real quick for you, but I'm going to share a tutorial on how to create this design and cut it in both Silhouette Studio and Cricut Design Space. So whichever user you are, let's get started. This video is fairly long because I'm showing you how to make the complete design. So if you are going to be using Silhouette Cameo, keep watching. And if you're using Cricut Design Space, head to about the 9-minute and 40-second mark. To create the design in Silhouette Studio, first you need to go to the circle tool and just hold Shift down and drag to create a complete circle. Then you're going to do copy and paste, and you're going to make 8 circles. Now what we have to do is resize all of these circles so that they kind of nest within each other. On the right sidebar, I'm going to click the transform button, and then I'm going to click like that little diagonal arrow, and that's going to allow me to resize all of these circles to fit with my design. So you want to make sure that little lock is closed, so that way when you adjust the width of the circle, it also adjusts the height at the same time, keeping it a perfect circle. You're going to start out with a 2-inch circle, then you'll add 2 inches, so the second circle will be 4 inches. Then you'll add a 1/4 inch, 4.25 inches, and then another 2 inches. And you're just going to keep going. You're going to add 2 inches, a 1/4 inch, 2 inches, a 1/4 inch until you have all of your circles. If it gets a little confusing, you're not sure where you left off, you can use the align tool and you can align them vertically and horizontally. So I'm trying to go for 4 different 2-inch circles. So once I align them here using that top toolbar, I only have 3. So I need to use these other 2 circles that I have at the bottom, add another 1/4 inch and another 2 inch. Now you'll see if you don't close the lock, you get an oval. So that's just a hint to you. If something doesn't look right, it's probably because you forgot to click that little thing to close the lock. All right, so now we have all 4 circles. I've aligned them. They look perfect and they have that little gap in between just the way I want them. Now let's figure out what text we're going to do. For this design, I'm copying the same thing from my Instagram shirt, and I am doing the Be Kind, and I'm using the font Funkadori, and I will link to that down in the description if you're interested in grabbing that font. It is not a free font. I have Adobe Illustrator, so that's how I got it, but it is a pay-for font if you don't have Adobe. So what you'll do is you will type out your text and then go over to the font tool on the right toolbar. This is where I'm going to pick out my Funkadori font. And then I want to resize it so it's kind of overlapping all of my circles, but not bigger than my circles. So again, align it so you can see what it's going to look like. Now, as you can tell, the Be Kind part is not centering. And when I click on it, it has that huge box. So that's why I need to weld this font and then I can try again. See how the bounding box is now closer to the font? Now, when I do the centering, it should all stay just the way it should be. All right, so let's move the circles out of the way. Let's just work with the font because now we want to do an offset on the font. So I'm going to select it, copy and paste a new version, apply the offset using that offset tool on the right toolbar. And that is perfect. So now you can see I'm going to drag that original one out of the way. Let's go back to the offset. And I'm gonna kind of give everything a color just so it's visually easier for you guys to follow along. But if you're familiar with Silhouette Studio and just working with the outlines, then you can go ahead and do that too. I want to select everything and I want to center it again horizontally and vertically just to make sure it's perfect. Now with the Be Kind, once we set the offset, it made it into two parts. Be was one and Kind was another. So when I go to align them, you can see how they kind of get jumbled up. So just do Control Z to undo it. Go back and you're going to select the two parts and you're going to group them together. So that way they won't overlap each other when I press the align tools next time. Now from your right toolbar, you're going to select modify and we want to use the divide tool. And that is going to divide all the pieces. It's going to take a second because there's quite a few parts. And then we'll go in and we'll give everything a color and kind of delete the parts that we don't need because we don't need any extra cut lines to get us confused. I'll go ahead and speed this up a little bit so you can still watch, but if you kind of understand this part, you can fast forward. Don't forget those little parts, like in the B and the D. You want to make sure that you don't delete those because those should be included and also the same color as the circle that they're within. All right, so let's just clean up the last bit of cuts here. For this project, we're making a shirt, which means we're using heat transfer vinyl. So we need to select the entire design and then we need to flip it horizontally. So basically the font is going to be backwards, but once we print it out, weed it, and flip it onto our shirt, it'll read the right way again. I'm gonna take all these pieces off of my mat because I have to do it one color at a time. So I will use the yellow circle. I'll pull it up to the corner so I don't waste any space, and I'll get all the other colors off of my mat and do these just like that, one at a time. Now, I got some major flack because when I was weeding this design on Instagram, people were saying, oh my God, look at all that wasted space. Well, that purple area, that big circle, fill it with something else. Normally I would do that, but I was trying to show a tutorial and I didn't want to confuse anybody. So once you have the part that you want to cut, you're going to go to send. You're going to pick heat transfer smooth if that's what you're using. With the Caesar Easy Weed, I use heat transfer smooth. I put my cup depth. It automatically sets it to 2. I leave it there, but I do bump up the force from 2 to 12, sometimes even 14, just depends on the day. And if my blade is getting a little dull, I even bump it up more so I can get more life out of that blade. And that is how I am able to weed so easily. A lot of you are saying, I never can weed so easily, but that is my trick. Now, if you're using Cricut Design Space, let's start on that tutorial. You're going to go to a new canvas, and on the left-hand side, you're going to click the shape tool and select circle. Once you create the first circle, you're going to copy and paste so you have a total of 10 circles. You may not need all of them, but that's just the start for us. And then you'll click on size on the top toolbar. and you're going to resize these circles. The first circle is going to be 2 inches, and you want to make sure that the little lock icon above that tool is closed so that it remains a complete circle. Otherwise, you're going to start making ovals. Once you do the 2-inch circle, then you'll go to a 4-inch circle. After that, the next circle is going to be 4.25 inches. Add 2 inches, 6.25, add a 1/4 inch, 6.5, so on. You're going to add a 1/4 inch and 2 inches in between every circle so that you create the 2-inch circle and a 1/4 inch gap in between each circle. To make this a little easier, I'm going to color these circles as I go. So the red circle right now is 2 inches. Then I'm going to do another white circle, which is going to represent the gap in between the next color. That'll be where I add the 1/4 inch. And you're just going to keep repeating the steps until you get 4 different colored circles. After you get all of your circles made, you're going to go ahead and drag over all of them to select them. And you're going to use your align tool, and you're going to center vertically and then center horizontally so they are all lined up. Looks like a target. It's perfect. Now let's work on the text part. We're just going to slide over here and we're going to pick the text tool, and I'm going to type out "be kind." Once I type out my word, I'm going to go up to the menu bar and I'm going to click on System because I want to pick a font that is already on my computer. I'm using the font Funky Dory. I will link to it down below in the description. And then once I get that typed out, I am going to drag it so that it's the size I want it. Just going to use that bottom right icon, the little blue one, to pull it out. And I want it to overlap all the colors. As you can see, the spacing is a little off, so I'm just adjusting that. I want the letters to touch for a cursive type look. Again, I'm going to select everything, the circles and the font. I'm going to align it all so it's centered. I want to work on adding an outline or a silhouette to this font. So I'm going to hide all my circles so that I only have the text here. And then I'm going to hide the original version because I currently have 2 copies. And I'm going to take that second copy and I'm just going to copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste so that I can slowly align them over each other with a little bit, like going kind of a little bit offset every time. I really wish there was an easier way to do this because in Silhouette Studio, they just have an offset button and it does it for you and it's perfect. With this, I feel like sometimes like the little tail on the D and the tail on the K can be a little wonky, but in the end, it's all going to be okay. You may need to copy and paste even more layers, so don't be afraid to do that. What we're going to do once we get all these layers and we think it looks good, we're going to first unhide our original, and then I'm going to give all of these a color so we can kind of see what it looks like and if we have enough of a silhouette. and I will drag the original over, but first let's move it to the top. And you can see how much purple is showing through. I don't think it's quite enough, and I want to add some more. I'm going to add about 4 more layers and kind of clean up my edges. And then once I get them all together, I'll right click and choose weld. And now all those different layers become one layer. Let's move that original black version to the top. And so the purple that you see is going to be, once we finish this design, it's actually going to be a white, or the background of the shirt. So I'll show you how we're going to do that next. I'm going to hide that original version. I'm going to unhide all the circles. Then we're going to center everything again. One by one, I'm going to select the white circle with the colored circle. So let's start out with the blue circle and the white circle that's in between the blue and green. Once you have them selected, click slice there on the very bottom, and you'll see how it starts to slice all those pieces up. We'll do it again with the green and white circle. You're going to click and delete the white circle, and then you click again when the whole circle turns green, and you delete the center part of that. And then you're going to continue doing that with the orange circle and the red circle. Now let's select the Be Kind font and one of our circles. I'm just going to click the green one and click slice again, and you'll see how it's starting to slice out the area where the text is going to be. The easiest part to do to delete the layers is to actually click on the actual layer of the font. You'll see like how it's cutting that purple part over on the right hand side, and just delete the layer rather than selecting it from the image on your canvas, because it can get a little bit confusing. And then make sure you keep the original so that you can continue to do this with each color. Do as I do, not as I say. If this seems confusing, just watch what I'm doing and clicking rather than what I'm saying. So you can see it's starting to take shape. And there we have it. Now we can bring back in the original font. I'm going to bring it to the top layer, and look at that. It goes perfectly, and it has a little bit of a white border. So everything that you can see that's white is going to be your shirt color showing through underneath. And once you're done, you can click Make It, and it'll put all of your different colors on the mat for you. Now be sure, if you're using heat transfer vinyl, you do click the mirror button at the very bottom, because you're going to want to mirror these images, and it'll tell you, number 1, put your black vinyl in, cut it. Basically, Cricut is really good at walking you through this process. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I can't wait to share more. If you have any other questions that maybe I didn't answer, just drop them below in the comments and I will answer them as soon as I can. Now you guys know how to make. You can use any wording you want. I know there were questions about what type of heat press I'm using and what I'm using in between the layers. So real quick, I am using a heat press I got off Amazon. I've had it for a couple years. It's been great to me, especially for the price. I will link that down. The one thing I love about my heat press is that I can adjust the pressure, and I think pressure is a big key to making your HTV or your heat transfer vinyl last on a shirt. A lot of you are saying that once you wash it, it seems to peel off. I've had shirts that I wear probably weekly and wash weekly, and they are still just like the day I made them. So pressure and the proper heat. I heat press my heat transfer vinyl at 320 degrees, and it should be hard. Like when I push my heat press down, it is hard to push it down. It is hard to pull it up with the type of heat press I have. I know some of them are made to like do the work for you, but they also cost a lot more money. So there's that. As far as the paper I'm putting in between each layer, I'm just using parchment paper, Reynolds parchment paper from Walmart. I don't have the Teflon sheets, so I use that and it works perfectly. I put on the first part I put on the shirt was the font, because that is kind of how I centered everything. So I put the Be Kind on, and then I used that to center the circles and to space them correctly. If you're having an issue, like one of my layers, it was an orange one. And so I just kind of cut it because the spacing for some reason didn't want to do what it was supposed to do. And I think that happens because the shirt is kind of stretched on your heat press. And sometimes if you peel another layer off, it moves a little bit. And so what might have been stretched now isn't stretched anymore. So pay attention to that. I hope I'm answering all your questions. I hope this helps you guys. I also showed you, if you were a Silhouette user, I got a lot of questions about how to bump up the pressure so that you can weed more easily. So I did show that. And the weeding tools I actually use dental hooks off of Amazon. I'll link those below as well. If you have a Harbor Freight, they have a 4-pack of tools for like $1.99. So head over there and grab those. And I can't wait to see what you guys make. If you make this shirt or you design something using this method, please, please, please tag me on Instagram at PoofyCheeksBlog. Give this video a thumbs up and make sure you're subscribed.